Imagine a man sitting in a pitch-black room, paralyzed by a fear you can't see. He hasn't stepped outside in 4 months. His hair is a matted mess reaching down his back. His beard is unkempt, and his fingernails have grown into long, yellow, jagged claws. He sits there, naked in a darkened screening room, watching the same movie over and over again, surrounded by stacks of Kleenex boxes and sterile zones that no one, not even his closest doctors, is allowed to cross. Now, here's the part that will break your brain. This man is the richest person on the planet. This isn't a scene from a psychological horror film. This was the terrifying daily reality of Howard Hughes. To the public, he was the ultimate legend, the real-life Tony Stark. He was the fearless pilot who broke world speed records, the visionary filmmaker who owned Hollywood, and the billionaire mogul who shaped modern aviation. He dated the most beautiful women in the world and held the keys to the American dream. But behind that golden mask was a man being eaten alive by his own mind. While the world was applauding his genius, Hughes was retreating into a labyrinth of madness. We're talking about FBI files that whisper of extreme paranoia, private diaries that reveal a 15-step ritual just to open a can of fruit, and a secret spy network used to monitor every breath of the people he claimed to love. He had all the money in the world, yet he lived like a prisoner. Tonight, we aren't just telling a biography. We are uncovering the twisted truths, the bizarre obsessions, and the secrets the world was never meant to see. How did the man who owned the world end up losing his soul to the darkness? Let's step inside the bunker. Before the madness, Howard Hughes was the man every man wanted to be. He was a 6 foot tall, handsome Texas billionaire who didn't just spend money, he conquered industries. He took over RKO Studios in Hollywood, making him the king of the movie world. He built the Spruce Goose, the largest aircraft ever flown. To the public, he was a daredevil. He personally test-piloted his own experimental planes, nearly dying in horrific crashes multiple times. People saw a genius who was too fast for this world. He was the icon of American ambition. But this is where the easygoing truth comes in. All that fame was a shield. While he was breaking records, he was already showing signs of the cracks that would later shatter his life. He was already beginning to hide, using his wealth not to enjoy the world, but to build walls against it. This is the side of Howard Hughes that would get him canceled instantly in today's world. You see, Hughes didn't just date women. He stockpiled them like vintage cars or trophies. He created a casting couch system that functioned like a high-tech, luxury prison. Think about it, the man was obsessed with the biggest stars of the era, legends like Ava Gardner, Katharine Hepburn, and Ginger Rogers. But for Hughes, it wasn't about romance or love. It was about absolute ownership. Once he caught a woman's attention, he would rent a massive, secluded Hollywood mansion for her. Sounds like a dream, right? Wrong. It was a trap. The house would be filled with his Mormon guards, men he hired, specifically because he thought they were more disciplined than private investigators. These women weren't allowed to leave the house without a written permit. They couldn't talk to other men. If they went to a restaurant, a spy was sitting at the very next table, taking notes on what they said. He even had his staff tracking their menstrual cycles and reporting the exact dates back to him. It was total 24-hour surveillance. The most famous, and frankly bizarre, example was his obsession with actress Jane Russell. During the filming of The Outlaw, Hughes wasn't happy with how she looked on camera, so he actually used his aviation engineering skills to design a special cantilevered underwire, bra built with the same structural logic as the wing of a plane just to make her look more provocative. He was literally using airplane physics to control and display a woman's body. But it gets much darker. Hughes had a scouting system that felt more like a predator's net. His spies would travel to small towns across America, find beautiful teenage girls, and promise them they'd be the next big star. He'd fly them to Los Angeles, put them in isolated apartments, and pay all their bills. But there was a catch: they had to wait. Some of these girls waited for months, even years, just to meet him. They were kept in holding like airplanes in a hangar, waiting for the master to arrive. One time, he pushed Ava Gardner too far. He was so jealous and controlling that she actually hit him over the head with a heavy bronze statue just to get away from him. He was bleeding everywhere, but instead of calling the police, he tried to buy her silence with jewelry and cash. He spent millions on hush money and private settlements to fix scandals before they ever hit the newspapers. To the world, he was a bachelor genius. In reality, he was a predator who turned the city of Los Angeles into his own private warehouse of human lives. As the years went by, the genius everyone admired didn't just retire, he became a ghost. Howard Hughes' obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, didn't just change his habits, it turned his life into a living, breathing hell. He became so terrified of the invisible world of germs that he retreated into what he called the sterile zone. But to anyone else, it looked like a dungeon of madness. If you were one of his few remaining servants, your life was a nightmare. You had to follow a strict, 3-page manual just to perform a task as simple as handing him a glass of water. Before touching anything that would enter his room, you had to wash your hands until they were raw and bleeding. Then, you had to put on multiple layers of surgical gloves and wrap the glass in thick layers of Kleenex. He lived in total darkness, sitting in his hotel suite for months at a time, completely naked. Why? Because he became convinced that clothes were dust magnets that would bring deadly bacteria to his skin. But hold on, because this is where it gets truly insane. Howard Hughes, the man who owned airlines, eventually stopped using bathrooms altogether. He didn't trust the plumbing. Instead, he started storing his own urine in glass jars, lining them up by the dozens along the walls of his suite like a sick collection of trophies. He refused to cut his hair or clip his nails for years. He believed that the mere vibration of scissors or clippers would open up his pores and allow microscopic demons to enter his body. His fingernails grew into long, yellowed spirals, and his hair became a matted mess that reached down his back. He spent over $1 million a year just on Kleenex boxes. He didn't use them for his nose. He used them as shoes. He would put his feet inside the boxes and slide across the floor, because he was terrified that his skin touching the carpet would lead to instant infection. This wasn't just eccentric billionaire behavior. This was a man with the resources of a nation living like a prisoner in a trash-filled room that smelled of rot and neglect. He was a man who could buy a fleet of the world's most advanced planes. Yet he was too terrified to touch a doorknob or eat a piece of chocolate that hadn't been decontaminated by his staff. He had all the power in the world, but he was a slave to a mind that was slowly rotting from the inside out. When Howard Hughes moved to Las Vegas in the 1960s, he didn't arrive like a tourist, he arrived like a ghost claiming a kingdom. In the middle of the night, he was carried on a stretcher into the penthouse of the deserted hotel. He stayed there for so long without gambling that the owners eventually tried to kick him out. To make room for high rollers. Hughes' response? He didn't pack his bags. He simply called his lawyers and bought the entire hotel for $13 million. But he didn't stop there. He went on a buying spree that changed Las Vegas forever. He bought the Sands, the Frontier, the Castaways, and the Silver Slipper. He even bought a local TV station just so he could control the late-night movies. If he wanted to watch a specific film at 3 a.m., the whole city had to watch it with him. He ruled the Sin City, from a dark room with blacked-out windows, never once stepping foot on a casino floor. He turned Vegas from a mob-controlled playground into a corporate empire, all while living as a hermit who communicated only through handwritten memos. He proved that even from the shadows, his money could buy an entire city. The end of Howard Hughes is perhaps the most haunting story in the history of wealth. In April 1976, a man was rushed onto a private jet in Mexico, headed for a hospital in Houston. He was a skeletal figure, weighing only 90 pounds. His hair was waist length. His beard was a tangled mess, and his skin was paper thin. When he died mid-flight, the doctors who received the body didn't believe it was him. They thought they had been handed a homeless man from the streets. The man who once owned the skies and ruled Hollywood was so unrecognizable that the FBI had to use fingerprints to prove it was actually Howard Hughes. The autopsy revealed a horrifying truth. He had several broken hypodermic needles, still lodged in his arms from years of self-injecting painkillers. Despite being a billionaire, he died of kidney failure caused by neglect and dehydration. He died in a room full of people he Paid to be there, yet he didn't have a single friend to hold his hand. It's a chilling reminder that you can buy the world, you can buy a city, and you can buy people, but you can't buy a way out of the darkness in your own mind. The legend was gone, leaving behind only the mystery of a man who had everything, but ended up with nothing. So, here we are. After all the planes, the billions, and the scandals that shook Los Angeles, we're left with a question that hits different. What was the point? Howard Hughes had enough money to buy the world, but in the end, he couldn't even buy a single night of peace. It's wild when you think about it. We spend our entire lives chasing the bag, convinced that wealth is the ultimate shield. But Hughes is the living proof that you can be the king of the world and still be a prisoner in your own head. He didn't just live a weird life. He let his demons drive the car until he hit a brick wall at 100 miles per hour. But look, I want to get real with you for a second. Was he actually a genius who saw the world differently? Or was he just a high society predator who used his bank account to hide his rot? I'm genuinely curious, what's the one thing from today that stuck with you? Was it the airplane bra or the jars of urine? Is that billionaire behavior or just pure, unfiltered madness? Scroll down and talk to me in the comments. I'll be down there replying to the most interesting takes. If this story messed with your head a little, hit that subscribe button and join the circle. We don't do boring here. We do the truth. And trust me, the stories only get darker from here. Catch you in the next one. Peace.